So, Mr. Arnold Lakita, am I spelling your name right? Not pronouncing your name right?
That's correct.
Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Arnold Lakita Mwashumbe. I'm an art director. I'm creative, digital artist. I'm not even sure what that means. And yeah, I design once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is an art director?
An art director essentially is like a shepherd. You know, art directors work with people from different disciplines to put together visuals that answer a particular brief or objective. You know, so let's say within a creative team, you'd have a designer, a typographer, a photographer, and a finishing artist. The art director is the one who now combines all these elements to make sure everything works. Well, the designer does the template for the layout and or a certain look of the campaign and logos and stuff like that. The photographer will take pictures, the finishing artist will go and retouch the images. The art director will now look at all of these things and assemble them in a manner that's aesthetically pleasing and matches the objective or the brief of the client.
Okay,
right.
Copy that. So describe yourself in 3 words.
Wow, that's kind of hard because it's okay. Actually, in 3 words, I love music. That's it. That's really me.
I love music.
Yes, that's who I am. I mean, music is everything to me. It's what inspires me. It's why I always have headphones around my neck.
Wow.
You know, I sleep to music, I work to music, I walk to music. It's what I do.
Okay.
It's to me, it's what describes me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You recently designed the national team's jerseys.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
No, this was after the Kenya-Ghana game, and I was just sitting there looking at the highlights, and that kit is horrible, man. I'm no disrespect to whoever designed it, of course. And of course, I know that everybody has an opinion of designs and stuff. And my point of view was, if you look at the average kit of any other country, it's a reflection of who they are. Now, if you look at our kit, it doesn't say Kenya. It's just really red. You know, it reminded me more of like a Man United kit or something. But it's not even that. The way it was put together, it just seemed like it was done in a hurry. So I was like, what if I just give it a shot? And that's what happened. A friend of mine, Laura Walubengo, after I posted it, was like, wow, this is cool. I was like, thanks. She's like, I'm sharing it on Twitter. I was like, what? Okay. And then next thing you know, it's kind of gotten like a whole bunch of responses. Good, of course. Some are not bad, but like I said, everyone has an opinion.
Yes.
Some people are like, well, why can't it be red, or the existing one is better, and all of that. So, but it was a very fun engagement to peek into Kenyans' heads to see what they think about their soccer team. But all in all, it was unanimously like there was a lot of love towards the ideas that were thrown in there.
Okay.
And I think people were keen for it. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So personally, I liked the kit so much, and that's why I talked to our Kenya Actors Guild chairman to find me this guy. Of course, you're my friend on Facebook, but you see, you just don't wake up in the morning, DM, hi, can I?
No, you could have. I'm really game. I mean, Chris knows. He knows me. I like meeting new people. I get inspired by people as well. You know. You never know. You never know where this would end up. So I would never have refused.
Okay.
The only constraint here is time.
Time, yes.
Yeah.
Time. It's always time.
It's always time. But given the option, most people would rather meet new people to find out what's going on. That's why the point that I made about creativity, it's about exposure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where were you born and where did you grow up? I
was born in Mombasa. I grew up there. I came to Nairobi when I was about 18 or 19. And Nairobi was a bit different, faster. And I think my journey, well, actually, I've always had a tendency to get into arts and stuff, but it kind of took off here because, you know, I knew someone at Ogilvy, and then they got me in as an intern, and the rest is history.
This is true. Yeah. So did you just come to Nairobi first for better opportunities, or you came knowing exactly what you're coming to do? Because most people just came wanakujanga tu Nairobi ndio kuna maneno, you just go blindly.
To be honest, I had no idea, man. I think my mom shipped me off to Nairobi because she felt I was going to get in trouble in Mombasa. You know, I'm one of those guys where it's I have to do stuff. If I don't, I'd have probably ended up the wrong way. So yeah, I was shipped off here, like, get this guy something to do, and that's what happened.
Okay.
It's I really had no idea.
Okay. Speaking of your mom in Mombasa, what's your most vivid childhood memory?
My most vivid one is really like I'm going to the docks to fish and diving with my late brother and friends. You know, it's refreshing because I look at my kids now, they're literally digital kids, and I don't know if they're going to have the same kind of memories that I have. We were more of outdoors. So majority of my cool memories are about the ocean and the outdoors. All my kids are about iPads and stuff.
Okay, but you also work digitally, so yeah, any iPad too.
I know, but at least I had the best of both worlds. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you study art directing, and is this the direction you always wanted to be to go to since you are a child, ama ilikuja tu?
Well, I hate using this word that it's talent. To me, I think it's all about practice and exposure. I was always visually inclined as a person. Of course, I was awful at it, and I became better the more I drew, or the more I thought about conceptualizing and ideas. And I believe everybody has that. It's inborn in everyone, but it obviously gets constrained because, you know, that's the way society works. Practicality is valued more over lateral thinking, you know. And art direction can be taught. Ogilvy, was lucky enough when I was working for Ogilvy, they really invested in their employees. They basically gave me all the training that I needed, exposed me to the right mentors, worked with the right kind of people. And after I left Ogilvy, I went to Scanad, worked with the great Andrew White, where I learned the bulk of what I know. And then later on, you know, you meet guys like Bobby Gassi, who is another brilliant worldwide creative. But the point is, it can be learned. So mine wasn't formal per se, but it's all the training courses and stuff like that that I was taken to, and the exposure made me who I am, and I'm still learning anyway. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So why art directing? Did you bump into it? The real question I want to ask is, did you, because now you're shipped to Nairobi and you're taken for internship, Pale or Ogilvy. Right. So art directing, did it just come because you were there? Ama it's something you wanted to do there? Because you could have been an accountant there, you could have been anything else.
It's interesting that you point that out. I was actually in media. Yeah, I was actually in the media department. I remember I was like a gopher of sorts. I think, okay, I remember two guys. I remember Lenny Nganga. Lenny was like my boss then, and he used to brief me and make me do media reports. I think they're called media reports. And I ended up becoming pretty good at it, but it was boring. So in between doing those things, I used to sit down and sketch really random things, because I sketch random things. And he looked at them and he's like, wow, this is cool. So anyway, one day there was a shortage for visualizers. Now, this is the difference, because I'm not as young as I look. Those days, they want computers to do layouts. Like, this is the process of art direction. And those days, it was a creative director will sit down with his writer, they'll come up with an idea, and then further down the line, it's briefed to a visualizer. Now, a visualizer would literally draw that layout by hand. Like, let's say if it's for Omo, like this is a 10% discount ad for Omo, you draw it, and then it's mounted on a piece of card, and you take it to a meeting and present it. So I think there was a shortage of visualizers, and this creative director comes, he's really stressed. He was talking to Lenny about something, and Lenny's like, but that kid over there can draw. I was like, oh crap. And so this guy was like, it's like, do you want to sit here and do this all your life, or do you want to do funky stuff? I was like, well, I like funky stuff. And then that's how I ended up on the other side. Like, seriously, that's how it was. Okay. I was literally in the media department, which I think is good, because media is actually as close as you can get to being a creative as well.
A visualizer is the same as a storyboard artist?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you're a visualizer, you do storyboards as well. So that's how my drawing kind of improved, because I never used to draw that much until I became a visualizer. And yeah, the amount of drawing was tons and tons and tons of drawing.
You see, this is really insightful, because you see there are so many people. A kid takes a pen and draws awesome stuff, cool stuff, but they only think that maybe you have to draw people's faces and try to make a living out of that, which everyone is doing that. They do not know there is this other side they can earn a living from.
Yeah, it's you're absolutely right. I think the problem comes with, and I've had quite some serious, hissy fits about this on social media, where I'm like, it's incredibly amazing for a country that digs musicians. They'll bring in musicians, they'll wear designer gear, they'll be on social media platforms, which are all born of the arts, design thinking, but there is literally no support in exposure or training kids to see the options that they have. So as a result, you'd find that people who know anything about art, they'll always assume, oh, but it's just about fine arts and doing portraits, or doing paintings and doing murals, which is fine, I'm not knocking that, but there's so many facets to it. If they knew that you could get into industrial design with the art knowledge that you have, technical, architectural, I mean, the
options are endless.
The options are endless. But like I said, without the exposure, it's just, you just see these brilliant talents go to waste. And because people rubbish it,
Yeah. So what do you think can be done so that more and more artists out there are more aware of what options they have, so that we take this as a country into a different level altogether?
Well, the easiest one is definitely mentorship or apprentices, getting these talented people. And it's not that much of a stretch finding these kids, schools, universities and stuff. When I was growing up in the industry, we used to get like at least 4 interns every couple of months, and I don't know why I don't see that. Maybe other companies do it, but to me, that's pretty much a very important aspect. And of course, collaborative thinking. If you look at other countries, they're way developed in that, because people work together a lot. It's not about egos, it's not about holding on to your craft, or this
wanting to be the only one.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
When you're ranking.
Exactly. Collaborative thinking is how you gain awareness towards specific stuff. And more often than not with the arts, you see it in music, you see it in the movies, crossovers and collaborations and stuff. But artists, for some odd reason, I guess maybe we're prima donnas, I'm speaking for myself. I'm not.
So that someone doesn't come to.
I don't want people to start shooting me. Mtumba.
What obstacles did you encounter when you began, and how did you overcome them?
I think my biggest obstacle was me. Like anything else, without discipline, you're not going to become very good at it, for that matter, or leave a mark. And obviously I had discipline issues. To overcome that, you have to essentially look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is about you. You have to ask yourself here, is it about becoming the best, or is it about becoming as good as you want to be? Because there's no such thing as becoming the best. that's rubbish. It's about becoming as good as you want to be. So the only way to do that is to essentially look at the end game here. Why are you doing this? Is it to make money? Is the end goal to leave a mark, to change the landscape, at least do something that would be significantly helpful to the people around you? It's not just selling products. And once you start looking at all those things, you'll be like, okay, maybe I also need to, be introspective and look at myself and see, why am I doing this? How can I change myself to make stuff work? That's one. Discipline was an issue for me. Two, literally people don't really give a crap about designers or artists. Like, you'd see it every day. People would be like, oh, you're an artist. Can you design this for me? Can you draw me? Can you do my wedding card for me? But it's easy. So you can do it for free, right? Or next to nothing.
Yeah, or I'll pay you with exposure. I'll tell my friends
exposure.
So that you'll draw theirs as well.
And it's pretty bad. I mean, for old guys like us, you get thick-skinned, but I'd assume for the younger people, it's very disheartening. But you somehow just manage to soldier on, and there are checks and ways to go around that. But that's also a very big obstacle. And lastly, there is censorship. That's a pretty big one, and that's actually everywhere. But it affects us as well. Sometimes, yes, I know it's kind of a very thin line between expression and being downright, how would I say this, gratuitously scary, or your imagery that you might come up with, or the concepts might be too sexual or polarizing. But the point is, if you can't let people exercise that, they would never know the true limits of their own creativity. So it's kind of wrong for institutions to set boundaries and limits. I mean, I know vetting boards are there and stuff, but it shouldn't really start curb stomping artists and their ideas, because it does nothing but create entire generations of people who are afraid of articulating, whether it's by verse or by song or by visuals, because they'll be like, what's the point? My stuff will not see the light of day. I think those are the three things. Is
this the reason why? And Kenyan, having done commercials myself,
yes,
and I see Kenyans complaining after they've watched a commercial. They're like, oh, why can't our commercials be like the ones for US maybe, or the Middle East? Ours are like we are regurgitating the same ideas over and over. Is that the same reason why?
Well, there's a lot of, it's quite complex. That's one of them, because you'd have to look at it this way. First of all, the advertising landscape changed significantly, like fairly recently. Before that, it was pretty much expatriate-led. So whoever would come here, they would use the same strategies that they used in Europe and all of that, because all of the creative directors were either European or whatever. That's one. Two, then this might sound terrible, but it's something I remember. A musician, Sinead O'Connor, she was asked what's the best advice she can ever give, and she said, as an artist, you have to be true to yourself. And the example she gave was Bob Marley. He sang the way he spoke. He sang in his Jamaican patois. He didn't try to be American, he didn't try to be anything else.
Yes.
And I think for that reason, it's why our advertising is fairly okay. It's not worthy, but it emulates, it apes. I remember I was in SA once and I was showing one of the Ogilvy founders my portfolio. And he said, it's okay, but it just seems me too. And he had a point. I got offended by it, but he's right. We have so many ethnic, local, Kenyan vibes and nuances that we could actually use to grow the craft, to grow the industry. But for some odd reason, our advertising just simply wants to be fast world. It doesn't have to be that. It can become first class advertising. You can have Kenyan ideas in there, make them first class, but don't try to be first world. First world is a totally different thing. That mama boga down the street can't relate to your ideas if they go off on another tangent, all in the name of creativity. And of course, there's the awards pressure. People are pressured to do advertising that will win awards. And there's a specific thing that those judges look at, specific things.
Yeah.
And you can tell from a mile away that these ads were obviously done to win awards. There's a very big difference, and it's true. It's actually there. It's most creatives know that for a fact. You have the work that you do to pay the bills, to sustain your shop, your creative shop.
Yeah.
And then you have the ads that you do because you know, oh, this one is going to win me an award.
Yeah, this is just to prove a point.
It's mad. It's, like I said, it's very complex. Not that I'm knocking that, but the awards thing is how people get noticed. So it's very polarized. Some creatives are like, you know what, why don't you just do stuff that's gonna be like game changing in your country? The fact that it's changed people's perception about specific things, like let's say if it's child labor or female genital mutilation and all of that, that's good enough. It doesn't matter if you want a can or not. Have you made a difference at home? There's some creatives who feel that way, and there's some who are like, yeah, I want a can. I don't know. I think it's all horses for courses, and to each their own. There's that, and there's also the research problem. Our ads are obviously, a lot of them are dictated by the outcome of research, which is terrible because research is simply information. It's not confirmation. Just because you did some quantitative or qualitative research and the respondent said, well, majority of the people like seeing babies in advertising. That does not mean that all your ads have to have babies. Yeah. It's just information that you put into consideration. So it's such things that creatives fight, and it's kind of hurtful for us, you know, because you've sat there for nights brainstorming and things, and you come up with these brilliant ideas, and they're like, okay, they're going to be researched, and then they come back from research and everything is reducted and cut down. The offensive bits are cut out, and you have just add water advertising. Yeah. It's why literally, and it's a horrible thing to say, but we used to get this response a lot, like if you remove that pack shot at the end and put another one, or that logo, it's simply interchangeable.
Yeah, it's another product.
Yeah, so and a lot of that could possibly be because the average product here, the average brand, might not have that many competitors. So the need to push to do something really groundbreaking might not be there, unlike the Western world where one product would have 1,000 or so competitors. So everybody wants to be at the top of the heap, and the commercials done would have to be completely outstanding.
Very competitive.
It's extremely competitive, yeah. I mean, we don't kid ourselves that we're selling things at the end of the day. But there is a way to combine it with whatever artistic knowledge that you have garnered or exposure to turn it into an art form. Just because it's advertising, it doesn't mean that it has to suck.
Yeah,
that's how I see it, yeah.
So what's your lowest or worst moment as a creative?
My lowest moment as a creative, I think it was because of ageism. Yeah, I was actually surprised that I succumbed to that, because I always thought I was thick-skinned, but this industry somehow has a way of making older creatives feel pretty terrible, you know, and you know, you'd be made to feel like the fact that you've reached a certain point, you are a has-been. So unless you know how to rebrand or recreate yourself, you're pretty much sunk. So you constantly need to be finding new ideas, working with new people, seeing how else differently you can execute your thoughts and concepts to get out of that rut. But yeah, that was pretty low for me. I thought at some point, I'm like, you know what, I'm done with this. Maybe I should just go and do something else, like
ukulima.
Yeah, you know, some boring sedentary thing, but at least it would have maintained my sanity.
What's your highest moment?
That was a while back, I think. I got a Grand Prix for the APA Awards. That was quite an achievement for outdoor. It got a Cannes shortlisting, and But possibly the highest was the thing that I'd done, the one vibe thing, which is people with Kenyan masks. The whole thought behind that was when you look at somebody's face, you should see a Kenyan. You shouldn't see a Luo, a Kikuyu, or an Indian, or whatever. And it's something that I'd done. I didn't do it for money or whatever. I'd just done it for myself. I think it was just after the 2007 elections.
Yeah.
And people picked up on it. They're like, wow, I really like that. Can you do for me a profile picture like that? And it ended up becoming quite big to a point where the newspapers picked it up. I think it was Nation. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me happy. Like, I'm basically helping people look at things differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taken back to where you began, would you change anything?
No.
With the knowledge you know now and everything you know now, is there anything you'd change?
Not a thing. I believe the sum total of what I went through shaped me. If I was to remove one aspect of that, it would restructure everything that I know. And all the mistakes that I ever made, all the learnings combined, they're good things. They're not, I guess it's, how do I explain this? It's kind of tricky when you look at something and think, if I'd go back and I would fix it, it would have a different outcome. It doesn't work like that. It's you have to have gone through something for you to realize, how can I do it differently again? So the past is as important as the present and as the future.
Okay.
So I wouldn't change a damn thing.
The creative industry in Kenya, what are we doing correctly and what do you think we can improve? And by the creative industry, I mean film, all the visual arts, the music, just the creative economy generally.
I think we're doing a great job. We're beginning to get there. With the arts, like what I said, there just needs to be a lot more of collaborative thinking. It's where the best work comes. Where an individual might have all right ideas, but if you combine that individual with another individual from a different discipline or the same, if you put the two heads together, what comes out is absolutely exciting. I mean, I've seen a bunch of collaborations in my time, and they're absolutely so dope. And I wonder, why aren't people getting onto that? And slowly that's getting there. That's one. Number two, attention to detail. That's everything. We say this in the design business and art direction business. God is in the details. Like, literally, excellence of execution is what will eventually differentiate you from the blasé stuff to the really amazing stuff. So it's one thing coming up with a good idea, but it's another putting in the effort, the time and the money to make sure that it's absolutely something else. To me, that's what needs to be worked on.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So what can you tell upcoming artists? Advice to upcoming artists.
Advice. Wow, I'm really terrible at advice, but I'll try. I'd say your biggest competition is yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to yourself. Look at the best work you've ever done and then try not to do it. That's how you're going to make it. Don't start looking at other people and think, wow, I want to be like that and all of that. Let that be a source of inspiration. But you are the true test. If you've done a really big thing last year, this year, try and do something bigger than that. Like that, like that, like that.
Okay.
That's how I'd look at it.
Okay. Is there any ritual you do before starting any creative work or anything? Do you have any rituals you do?
Yeah. Coffee. A cigarette, which is a bad idea. Don't smoke. Yeah, coffee, cigarettes, and definitely a layout pad and a pen. It's essential. I think if you don't see it in your mind's eye and then sketch it out to get your dimensions proper or articulation of the idea properly on pen and paper before you move on to the computer or before you know, it's the same way a musician would write their lyrics, or, you know, do your sketches, articulate that idea, get your rationales right, and then move on to the computer. Don't just jump straight into the comp and get images and start plonking stuff there. It doesn't work.
Okay. What motivates you?
Life, people, music, my family, tragedies, a lot.
Who's your favorite Kenyan musician?
My favorite Kenyan musician? Wow, I have many. I actually like Sauti Sol. I think they've changed the game. I like Calligraph. I think he's daring, he's different. He's brought something unexpected. And I also like Fenagitu.
Fena.
I went to see her.
Lady.
Yeah, I went to see her at The Alchemist. I think that was last year. And it was an amazing show. She puts on a brilliant show. And of course, there's some unheard of artists out there. I remember Kula Gang. I don't know what happened to them, but they're pretty cool.
Nduko Flani.
Oh yeah, I mean, I grew up on Uko Flani. Yeah,
Same here.
Yeah, I grew up on Uko Flani. It's to me, they're like the holy grail of Kenyan hip hop. You know,
Yeah.
they redefined, and they go to a point that I mentioned earlier, like sing the way you speak. They were not afraid of showing their roots, their background, and they rapped the way they lived. Their music painted visuals of hardships, of euphoria in the hood. It was gritty and real. It's unlike the music that I hear now, which is all flashy. I was with a girl, I have a drop top, whatever the hell it is. Their stuff was very conscious, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
What's your life mantra?
My life mantra is basically adapt and overcome. It's as simple as that. You have to adapt and overcome. Change is inevitable. So the only way to keep up is adapt and overcome. That's my mantra.
Okay. Favorite quote? Favorite quote?
My favorite quote? Oh God, I have so many. My best one was always about, so it's not about how good you are, it's about how good you want to be. That one's always stuck with me. I was told that at some training session, and I've never forgotten that. That was decades ago.
It's not how good you are?
It's not how good you are, it's how good do you want to be. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that is infinite.
Yeah.
Because you will always want better. Because if you believe that you are good, that's it. That's where you'll stop.
Yeah.
But if you start thinking about how good you want to be, you'll keep on pushing the boundaries. That's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parting shot?
In short, don't take things for granted. Don't whatsoever. If you put your back into it and a sprinkle of love, it's definitely bound to get noticed. So, and there's no such thing as bad creative or bad art. If you keep at it long enough, someone out there will notice it and buy it. So it seems easier said than done, but trust me, it works.
It works.
Yeah.
Where can people find you?
Everywhere.
Uko Tinder?
Yeah, no, I'm not on Tinder. I'm happily married.
Okay, you know, you said everywhere, so you're like...
No, I mean, I'm on social media to a point where it's probably very annoying. I probably annoy people. But it's because I try and inspire people with interesting...
You don't post so much.
I do.
Though at times I don't understand your art totally. I look at a picture and I'm like, okay, this thing looks nice, but message ni nini inaendelea hapa?
Yeah, some of the things I post can be a bit obtuse. I try and avoid heartbreaking and mind-numbing stuff, because every time I go through Twitter or whatever, most of the stuff is heartbreaking, man. It's not like people don't know these things. I'm pretty sure they read newspapers or they found out this information. So when you regurgitate the same info that, you know, things are a bit tough, it doesn't help. So I try to be mostly positive. So I try and wear my positivity on Twitter mostly, Facebook, and my business head is more on LinkedIn, creative strategy and stuff like that. And I'm more of a idiotic on Twitter. But yeah, I just try and make people smile. I try and take things light because we're not gonna make it out alive, man. So have fun while you're at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your Twitter handle, Facebook, Instagram?
It's all Animal 2000.
Animal 2000?
Yes.
Wait, on Facebook,
no, like, yeah, no, I'm Arnold Lakita on Facebook, but I'm Animal 2000 on Twitter, yeah, and LinkedIn.
Why Animal?
Because I was
my friends wenye ni kama ule mnoma sijui nani vera ule baby, so you Animal.
Because I was a pretty wild guy, and it came from the name Ani, you know. And if I'm not wrong, it was Lenny who gave me this nickname. Damn it, and it stuck. Lenny Nganga gave me this nickname. If you see it, you'll remember. Arnimal. It's ARNIMAL. Yeah, I got it from Lenny because I was part of Party Animal.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, eventually, but that has to stop.
Yeah. Finally.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your time. I do not take it for granted. I hope someone out there is inspired.
Namaste. I hope I will.
Namaste is, what does namaste mean? So many people say that. Asante,
it's like thanks.
We are together.
I hope I'm saying that. Yeah, that one.
So thank you so much.
All right,
sir.
thanks. All right.
All right.